Okay, we're looking at a 86 Volkswagen Golf. You might recognize this car from a video I did on the injection pump. Well, he went to get it inspected, and it failed Missouri state inspection because the struts, I guess the top mount's worn out. You can take it, and the whole assembly moves quite a bit. Well, that's picking up on camera. Hopefully it is. Actually, it's worse if you jack it up. You can really move that strut around. If you jack it up under the control arm, that strut moves around quite a bit. So we went ahead and ordered a fully loaded strut, and we're going to go, it's pretty simple to change this. We'll go ahead and start changing this out. First thing I'm going to do is remove this. This is a rubber mount here for your brake line, so I'm going to go ahead and get that off. Probably just get a screwdriver, and then we'll take these two bolts off here, and then look at the top. And I'll show you the top. It's kind of, the actual mount's pushed through the body up there. So I guess that rubber, the rubber mount on the lower part is wore out or gone or whatever. It's like that on both sides. And, most cars have two studs going through, or three studs with a nut on top. This car doesn't have that. It's just kind of a sandwich type strut where the bottom part comes up through the top, and then it's got a big rubber mount on it, and then the top has another plate that goes on it. It's supposed to tighten it down. Well, in this car, I guess the bushing is so wore out on the bottom of the strut that it's just pushed through the top. I'll show you when I get up there what's going on. It's pretty obvious. So anyway, I'm going to get that line loose, and then we'll get the tools ready and take this mount off. Or take it off. Alright, so we got two 19 mils on this thing. I'll go ahead and remove these two bolts. This is just your strut to the knuckle bolts, bolt and nut. And of course the compressor has to kick on. Alright, so here's the passenger side. I already took the driver's side out because that compressor was running, and I know nobody wants us to hear that. So this is actually a 20 millimeter nut on the top here, and you can see here it's not up against the the body here. It's elevated. The bushing is pushed through. Basically, it's wore out. So what you do is you just take a 20 millimeter and zip this one off, the nut off, and this plate will come off, and then the strut should fall down. I'll go over and show you the other stuff real quick, but this is the problem here. You can see how much it's off of here. This should be, down against here and tight, and it's not. It's pushed up, and that's why you got all that movement on the strut. So I'll go over and show you the one that came off and, the new one. Alright, so here's the one that came off. Like I said, you take the 20 millimeter nut here, zip this off, and then this bottom should stay, tight. And this here is what's wore out. This bushing here is just completely wore out, and it's pushed up through the body. So this is the old strut. I don't know if this is the original strut. This is 86. But the car is in pretty good shape. There's not a lot of rust on it, and really none at all on this car. It's an 86. And it's definitely a survivor car. It's it says it's got 80-something thousand miles on it, but I don't know if the odometer works. So it's got pretty low miles. You can see it's pretty clean under here. There's really no rust. So these may be the original struts on this car. I don't see any markings on it. But yeah. So the new one, you just slide it up in there. We got the load. I got the loaded strut for this. So you're just going to slide it up in there, and then you're going to put the top on and just kind of hand tighten it for now so that it doesn't fall. And then all you're going to do down here is just opposite what we did. Like I said, these are pretty easy, pretty straightforward. But I just want to show everybody the difference between the bad strut and the good strut. When we get this all tightened up, it should be a world of difference as far as the movement back and forth. So anyway, we'll go ahead and tighten these bolts, and then put our rubber boot back on for for the brake hose, and then we'll tighten the top and then see what we got for suspension play. Alright, so I'm just going to go in and see if I can get this started real quick. Should be able to put it on my hand. It's just a rubber little retainer. So that's back on. Now we'll hit those nuts. Hit those nuts. I still got the 20 on there from when I took the top off, and now I lost the other socket. What am I going to do with it? It's right here. So we're just going to tighten these up to German spec, because it's a German car, and that is good and tight. If you didn't know what the German spec is. Alright, so we're basically done underneath. It's really that simple on these cars. So I'm going to go ahead and torque the top bolt, or the top nut, and then we'll see if we have any play in the suspension. Obviously right now we do. It's actually a little bit better. It's only hand tight. But I'll tighten that real quick up on top. Alright, so I looked in the service manual for the torque spec on tightening this top nut once you get it up through the strut tire there. And it actually didn't list anything. I don't know if because the car's so old or what. But you know, I just tighten it down. You don't want to tighten it down and just take an impact and run it down until it stops. You want to just tighten it down until it's tight. You can see here, it's very tight. It's no movement at all in the strut anymore. There might be a torque spec for it, but I don't know. I use Shopkeep Crow and a few other places, and nothing had a torque spec for this tight nut. This top nut, all it said was to hold it and tighten it down. So I went ahead and just snugged it up. Didn't go too crazy on it because you don't want to distort your bushing on the bottom there. But it's definitely tight. And let me see if I can get you up there. So you can see here it's down flush with the mount versus that one over there that's sticking up about 2 inches or so. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Like I said, most cars have 2 or 3 studs that come up to hold these mounts in, and then you tighten those up, and then that middle nut actually holds the spring to the strut. But this car doesn't have that, and it's actually a pretty simple, straightforward job. The only thing is, like, we had to order these. No one around here had them in stock, you know, being an 86, which is understandable. But a lot of places just had the strut itself, and that's not really going to work in a situation like this where your bushings are real bad like that, because you need a strut mount. And I don't know, I didn't see anything for a strut mount. I didn't look super hard because I was looking for a loaded strut. I always try to use loaded struts whenever I do struts in general, just because if you're going to change it, you might as well change everything at once and be done with it. So if you're just going to do struts and you have that same problem where it's loose like that, it's not going to fix it. You need to get the strut mount. So anyway, and then you're going to have to go through you know, compressing the spring and taking the strut out and doing all that. It's much easier. I think these were about $80 a piece or something like that on Amazon. Might have been a little bit cheaper, I'm not sure. And you know, it gets everything you need, and then you can just get it done. I mean, literally, probably do the whole job in half hour, 45 minutes. It takes longer to jack it up and take the wheel off than it does to change a loaded strut on this. So very simple, very easy, and you know, it's up to you, I guess, on how you want to. If you want to just get the strut or whatever. But if you do have a lot of movement like that, getting the strut's not going to fix it. You're going to need the mount. So anyway, that's it for. I still got to do the other side, and I got to do a few other little things on this. But just put the injection pump on. It's been running real good, which is nice. And that's about it. I guess we'll catch you on the next one, hopefully. See you down the road. Have a good day, and as always, God bless.